WELSTech is a bi-weekly podcast exploring the intersections of technology and ministry. It is part of the podcast network sponsored by WELS, the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod. Our show today is hosted by Martin Spriggs and Sallie Draper. Welcome back to WELSTech, everybody. This is episode 777, and we're recording it on June 1st, 2026. My name is Martin Spriggs, and this is a show about technology and ministry and where those two intersect. And joining me, as usual, Sallie Draper. Hello, Sallie.
Good morning, Martin. Happy to be joining you. Here we are in the summer of 2026 already. It seems like time flies by, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's our Debbie and my 40th wedding anniversary today.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
40 years ago today, we were nervous little kids, just getting married and figuring all this stuff out. It was interesting. Pastor Caleb Schultz reached out to me today on an AI related question. He's up in, I think, the North Atlantic district. And I shared with him a little fun fact that his parents met at our wedding. So it's a very, very small synod. So
Yeah. Another fun fact. I was just enjoying a photo of Pastor Nate Scharf and his wife Hannah as they were celebrating their anniversary yesterday, and they look like babies in that wedding picture. But let's see, Nate's oldest sister, Becky Kelpine, at her wedding to John Kelpine, Dave and Beth Scharf were coupled together to walk up the aisle or whatever as junior groomsmen and junior bridesmaid.
Yeah.
And they ended up married. So, I mean, there's like a lot of WELS connections around, so we shouldn't be surprised. Fun stuff.
Exactly right. So we are at our summer look, and that's always a little bit lighter look, but today's a little bit different, isn't it, Sallie?
Well, it is, Martin, because summer's going to look different for me, at least. I have announced my official retirement from WELS. I will be laying it down on July 15th this year. And so kind of came as a surprise. Something you work towards and is out there in the future, but we were actually visiting the area and in for technology meetings in early May. And as my husband and I were driving to Milwaukee, he let me know that he thought it was time and that our resources were adequate for me to be able to retire. And so just like that, my whole world shifted and
No kidding.
It's quite an odd feeling and something very unexpected, but retiring from WELS means retiring from WELSTech as well. And that's maybe even a little bit more tugging on the heartstrings at this point because we've decided that this episode will actually be our last. The 777 is where Martin and Sallie, as co-host of WELSTech at least, will end. So
I'm so happy for you, Sallie. This is a neat step. I'm sure there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt involved in any decision this big, but we all know that God's in control too. He's been with you every step of the way. And when we look back at the podcast, we recognize that too. Kind of an amazing journey that you and I went on. We both started in, I think, the same year, 2004.
Working for the Synod.
Yep, working for the Synod. And then the show started officially in January of 2008. So anytime we have a big change like this, it's probably good or it's suitable to kind of reminisce a little bit. So I asked Sallie to kind of think about her 18 and a half years almost on WELSTech and some of her memories. And we can go down memory lane and talk about how God has blessed the show and some of the things we've experienced together. It's been pretty neat, Sallie.
It has. Yeah, and I guess right off the bat, a couple of things came to mind. First of all, when you ask someone to look back at 18 and a half years, a body of work
Hmm.
like that, there's no way I'm going to remember everything or bring out the most important things. So right away, you
Right.
can say, we'll probably skip something that was really pivotal, but oh well. The other thing you do is you get really introspective. It becomes really interest. And
Hmm.
um, I kind of went down that path, thinking about what was important to me and what things I remembered. And in the end, by the end, I realized that it's a very personal thing for me, but it's something that I've experienced because of human connections, because of
Right.
the corporate nature of WELSTech and the fact that it gave us a platform to explore things we probably wouldn't necessarily have spent time on, but we were able to document, to share, to give back to our WELS community, churches, schools, called workers, lay workers, and everyone in between. And that community built up over time, and it's become kind of a living, breathing compendium, I guess is the word I
Right.
settled on.
So
And
much less about technology and so much more about people, I think.
right. 18 years of ministry technology, but most importantly, human connection. And that's
Hmm.
been the biggest blessing. I will say right away, my mind went to one of my favorite authors. As a child, I read Laura Ingalls Wilder's books, Little House on the Prairie. Never dreamed that I'd live on Laura Ingalls Wilder Parkway in Minnesota when I was a little child in Mississippi, but here I am on Highway 14 in the big city of Mankato that Pa visited occasionally on the show and things like that. Laura Ingalls Wilder, I read to my children later, and I got into a lot of her autobiographical things that were kind of outside of the scope of the children's um, genre. And she really didn't write until she was actually older than me currently. She
Mm.
in late 60s, 70s. And it was really because she had the realization that she had lived in a through a huge set of changes. She went from wagon train to airplane because she eventually flew on an airplane to visit her daughter in Connecticut later in
Hmm.
her life. And just the opportunity to kind of write down and see that major life changes that she lived through in her days, late 1800s into the but like mid 1900s. For us, I think we lived through a major
Wagon train to airplanes, yes.
exactly.
Technology speak. Yep.
Our era, I think when we started, Martin was really about kind of foundational things. We needed people to have church websites and figure out how
Yeah.
to have a Facebook page,
Hmm.
and we spent a lot of time doing trainings and things around that. We went and
Right.
we were
Yeah.
trained on shepherd staff software for church management. We were trained on final web software for church websites, and then we did collaboratively a lot of training on those things as well.
Hmm.
Very foundational now as we look back. It seems like
Yeah.
we were learning our ABCs back then.
Wasn't our first guest Final Web? Was it Brian Schaefer from
I
Final
think
Web?
it
Our first
was
guest on that
possibly.
first show,
Yeah.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of highlights the fact that it truly was foundational. I think when we both started, a lot of congregations were struggling. Many didn't even have websites, and those
Hmm.
that did were pretty bad. And I think the the focus on that was pretty clear. And yeah, we did a lot of we brought people into the Senate office, and we did some remote training, even as
We
I recall
did
too. So
online training,
online
training at
training.
MLC, just lots of different
Hmm.
varieties. But anyway, we could help in that regard to kind of get people started and
Yeah,
assist. That was
yeah.
like huge for me. I spent a lot of time on
Right.
supporting website stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then I think just looking at the evolution of our show through um, audio, we did video, we went back to audio only, we went back to audio and video. We totally embraced the mobile world and all the things around mobile, which didn't exist when we started. And
Hmm.
also, there was always a steady stream of graphic related discussions as well as productivity related
Yeah.
discussions. I think graphics from my perspective, a lot of time, productivity from yours.
Hmm.
And we dealt with all kinds of tools in the mix in those areas.
Yeah. Just for fun, I went back to the original podcast,
Oh boy.
January 8th, ran it through AI. And one of the way we kind of promote that first show is we kind of asked the question, why a podcast? And we've talked about this not in the not too distant past either. What went on in that first show? And we raised the question of all the things we could do. Why talk about technology and ministry, and why use a podcast to do it? Because podcasts at that time were not that prevalent. You could probably count on one hand the podcasts that we were even aware of at that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even today, you look at the podcasting world, and it's so totally different, and very few probably make it to 777 episodes for one. And we were doing it
Mm-hmm.
every week for many, 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 many
That's
years.
true. Mm-hmm.
And basically, what we said on that podcast about why podcasts is, helping, like you said, helping people across the Synod with everyday technology and with tools that are constantly changing. And it's very difficult for people in frontline ministry to stay current, in that thing. And then we talked about kind of creating a forum for people to reach out with questions and share experience with others. And at that point, you had a brand new husband pastor, and he was dealing with all the technology things too, a website, church management software,
Yeah, living
school
it.
computer lab. All
Mm-hmm.
those things were kind of part of the mix. And then we kind of talked about goals, and I had a pretty blunt one. I just said we just try not to suck. And I think putting together a show that's helpful, meaningful was our goal each and every 777 episodes. And hopefully we did that pretty well. Thanks,
Yeah.
mostly thanks to you, actually.
Actually, mostly thanks to our audience and those that
That's
joined
true.
us. I don't, I should add up how many interviews we've done. That's something I've never done. I
Hmm.
know it's in the hundreds and hundreds. So,
Hmm.
thank you to all the people that joined us. I was actually kind of surprised as I perused the people we interviewed, like, oh, I don't remember that person being on the show and
Hmm.
that kind of thing. So I do remember some standout people along the way. And of course, without a doubt, our ed tech guest host, starting with Gail
Yeah.
Potratz, Jason Schmidt, and Rachel Reno. They have held us up on the ed tech side for sure. And that's a huge part of WELS ministry, the schools, the classrooms, surviving a pandemic, all those things. They were there just contributing so much to the show. But besides that, definitely some standout contributors. Pastor Rob Gunther, Pastor Peter Hagen, just added so much insight into the church ministry side of things. And Pastor Hagen started a podcast and learned along the way with us as he podcast. We have listeners like Cindy Kruger. I think Cindy's been there since episode 1, honestly. She's a friend from Michigan who just enjoys technology. She actually worked for the state of Michigan and some of their
Hmm.
tech teams. We even interviewed one of her coworkers who had written a book about technology. And Cindy's always contributed so much. She's helped us with different events we've put together. I remember in particular the 2015 WELSTech conference we did at Country Springs Hotel. That was kind of the first big get everyone together event. We had done something smaller at MLC a few years before, but Cindy was right there assisting in
Hmm.
so many ways with that effort. One more worth calling out is missionary Mike Hartman, who kind of grew up along the way with us as well, and all the
Hmm.
technology that World Missions has used. He was serving initially at the time in Latin
Mexico.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
in Mexico. And I think they had just gotten to Mexico and they started watching the live stream from our church in Sleepy Eye, where Kevin was pastor. And we connected that way. He actually came and did a presentation for our school children. So know them face to face and personally. I think their second child was an infant at the time in their arms, and now she's like almost college age or whatever. So
Hmm.
time just flies, and we just loved watching all the things Missionary Hartman did in world missions with technology and connecting just huge, vast numbers of people to God's word.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe
And
just one more memory. This one goes way back to episode 345, where we had a young man named Noah Georgeson. Do you remember Noah? Um,
was
he
he the one that went back and listened to all the episodes up to
in,
that point?
in like a month and a half, he listened to
Oh dear.
344 episodes of WELSTech, told us how all the things he had learned from it. And we sent him a Hall of Fame. At the time, we were doing Credly, was a website where you could do
Hmm.
badges for people earning digital badges. And he made a special Super Talk Show badge and sent back to us. So that was kind of a fun memory as
That
well.
is. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, things have changed a lot. You've changed physical locations, as I recall, many times through, oh, many
A lot
times.
more
That's
often
a
than you.
relative. Yeah. You were all over the country at some point, as I recall.
Yes.
That was an interesting stage in our Wells Tech lifeline.
An interesting and nerve-wracking stage. For those of you that don't
Yeah.
remember, my husband and I sold everything, sold the house, and went RVing full time. And I remember telling you, Martin, we want to RV full time and still work. And we're like, as long as you have an internet connection, we're good. And we did. We worked hard to have an internet connection. We had hotspots for both Verizon and I want to say T-Mobile. And
Hmm.
so where one signal wasn't strong enough, we'd broadcast with the other one. I think that's actually the time we went back to audio only podcast because
Hmm.
sometimes my signal wasn't quite strong enough for a video podcast. But yeah, we worshiped all over the country. It was a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and have also been all over Minnesota and Wisconsin, and in the office, not in the office, in new offices. Meanwhile, you've stayed right there in the Milwaukee area. I think you purchased one home that was different. And
Yeah, we've been
besides
in two
that,
homes in during the Wells Tech lifetime, but two different offices. Yeah, we were in the
yeah,
old
that's
we
right.
started in the old Senate office, as I recall,
Mm,
2929 North Mayfair, which doesn't exist anymore, and then the new office here in Waukesha.
yes,
So,
right. And we've done it
just,
face to face. We've done it on the Together video
yeah.
podcast with Nicole Balza. We've done it at Synod conventions multiple
Yeah, some of
times.
the more fun ones have been face to face at conferences or conventions where we're
Mhm.
just kind of out there in the open and get people to join us, and kind of a neat experience to do it that way.
Yeah, I think one that stood out for me, the biggest distance we've probably crossed was when you were in the Far East, I believe in Hong Kong. Was that
That
right?
sounds right. Yeah.
And you did it from Missionary Cirilla's home, I think, and that was pretty cool. That we reached around the world, even
Yep, exactly.
cool
So,
stuff. I alluded to conferences. We really enjoyed seeing people face to face and getting that opportunity. We did it in 2013, 2015, and 2019. The 2019 one was especially special because we did it with our friends in the Lutheran Schools office. We had an EdTech Lead conference at the Kalahari in Wisconsin Dells. And then most recently, we did the 2025 AI Summit down in Durrell, Florida. So that was a great
yeah,
experience as well.
cool.
So we've
Been
been
all
on the
over the
road. We've
place.
done
Yeah,
series
yeah.
about people all over the place as well. So
Hmm.
lots of travel.
Yeah.
Um, and I said earlier, if I miss anybody or I don't mention something that was especially special, I apologize. But one series that definitely stood out to me was the SIM thesis
Hmm.
interviews that we did
Yeah.
a lot of years, where we talked to the pastors in waiting, those that were just weeks away from getting their first assignments into ministry and had just completed some major research studies and things like that. I would say if I have one regret, and I hope the right person is listening. It's that my son Stanley's thesis wasn't a technology related thesis. That went on for many years. That you gotta have something to get on the podcast, Stanley. It was really just a running joke with us. But his thesis was as far away from ministry and technology as you could get. So we did not interview him the year that he graduated. But we did capture my family attending one of our Synod convention
Oh
recordings. There was
yeah,
like a
I
video
remember that.
shot of them
Hmm.
clapping in the background, which was hilarious. And we captured my first grandson on camera. I don't know if any of your grandchildren have been on the show, but my
No, I
little
don't think
infant,
so.
Russell Jack Draper, was on the show in his first week of life, which was really, really special for me.
Yeah.
Really wonderful
We probably do
memory.
have to make a shout out to our families too. I mean, this sounds like a true retirement conversation, but they have to put up a lot too. We talk about them on the show, and actually, I've had
Yes,
two of my three kids on the show, but
there you go.
it's been, you know, a uh, they have to endure a little bit. When I got into ministry, my wife and I had an arrangement that she would never appear as an illustration in a sermon. And I think for the most part, I was faithful about that. I've not been as faithful in other devotions and other things since then, but they put up with a lot. So, talking
Yeah.
about ideas and things that went on in the show. And so it's, yeah, my mother-in-law called this show the Martin and Sally show for many
Is that
years.
right?
So,
My
yeah.
dad was a big fan and he
Hmm.
had me autograph the book that we published. I looked it up. It's still
Oh,
out there
yeah,
on Amazon. We
it
wrote a
is.
book
Yeah.
together called With All Your Heart and published that a few years back. And it was about productivity and ministry. And
Hmm.
um, I shouldn't say we wrote it together. Martin wrote a book and I assisted on the
No,
sides a
that's not
little bit.
true.
So, but
It's
that
a
was a fun effort.
collaboration.
And we
Um,
used some cool tools at the time to do
we
that and
did.
learned
Yeah,
about how to do that and self-publish and things like that. So we read a lot of books along the way. Martin
we did.
always had interesting things for us to read. A couple that stick out to me. One early on by Nicholas Carr, The Shallows, What the Internet is Doing to Our Brains. That one was very much foreshadowing to my brain today and how
Hmm.
I have a very short attention span and can't read anything of any depth, unfortunately. But yeah, I've definitely personally felt the changes of technology over time. Um, Another standout to me was Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I still follow James. He's a really sharp guy and has a
Yep.
lot of great productivity related things to assist with. So
Yeah. 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 Lots of memories, Sally.
for sure,
Sure, you can live without this?
I am not sure I can live without this. That's what the big jumping off the edge is all about. Is it's going to
Right.
be different for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think one more fun memory I'll just throw out there. We've seen technology change. Obviously, we alluded to that. Um, the cloud is where it's at nowadays. But there was a time when there was a certain kind of derogatory description thrown at me. I believe you called me a digital dinosaur at some point on the
Uh,
podcast. Had to do with books with paper and watches with
Pencils and color.
dials on
Yeah.
them and things
Hmm.
like that, actual mechanics in it. And I will just have to
It was
admit,
truly a compliment. You just took it the wrong way.
I'm wearing my Apple Watch, and
Right.
the last book I read was one for work, and it was a digital book,
Hmm.
digital
Yeah. It only
format.
took
So,
18 years, but
right,
and
exactly.
and 777 episodes, but we
It,
did it.
that's right. So,
That's
good
funny.
memories.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like I said, we pray that our little conversations, and that's really all they are. I mean, we do work and we prep, and there's a lot of pre and post show work, and that's a grind. Can be a grind, but I think the fun part is just having the chit chat and having the feedback and the follow up conversations, and just running across people who saw the show, when you're in church someplace else, or
Mhm.
you have a conversation via email or video conference and say, "Oh, I saw that show," or etc. Got to catch up on my episode watching. Those are neat conversations to have.
It's very true. Very true. And wouldn't have happened without the great group of people that we have that are part of WELSTech. So,
Hmm. Yeah. All right, Sally. We probably there are a couple elements of the show that we do no matter what. Um,
even today.
even today
Mhm.
on Sally's last show. One of them, which we feel is kind of an important part of what we do, is a ministry resource, something that you can take and be useful in your ministry and technology journey. And wanted to do a just a reminder that Taste of Missions, that annual gathering of mission-minded people up at Wisconsin Lutheran Seminary is coming up. It's open to all. June 13th is the day.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be on vacation that day, but there is room for everybody. You can do a walk up. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can register until June 17th, I want to say. And
Mhm.
15 bucks. And you get missions presentations, you get some food and some fellowship, and you can also attend virtually as well. So it's kind of a neat experience. Sal, you and I were there at least once together. I don't know that
Mhm.
we did a show there, but we had some neat interactions with some of our tech friends as well, as tech is an important part of mission work these days.
Definitely. And yeah, happy to always make connections with them. And there will be a commissioning service. I think they do that quite often at the
Yep.
Taste of Missions. So there'll be new
Hmm.
missionaries, both home and world, commissioned on June 13th, which is an exciting thing to be a part of. And I'm sure that those that attend will have a fabulous time, and you can also watch it online. So
Yeah.
can't lose.
All right. And as usual, we'll have a link in the show notes,
Yeah.
which Sally has
Um,
faithfully done for
one more time.
777 times. All right, Sally, how about your final pick of the week?
Well, I also looked back at episode one, Martin, and I'm going to come full circle with my pick. My pick on the first episode was Google Calendar. And
Oh,
here I am, 18 and a half years later, using Google Calendar still. It has stood the
that's
test of
one thing Google
time.
hasn't killed is its Google Calendar.
It's
Yes.
true. It's true. And one thing we've kept up with was all our different episodes. We have a Google Calendar for that that shows in the sidebar of the website. But another thing that's out here is the Google Calendar lectionary, which I know many people subscribe to, that allow you to get the readings and the colors and psalms and prayers and all kinds of interesting things in relation to both the Christian Worship 2021 hymnal as well as the Christian Worship 1993 hymnal. And just a shout out to Sarah Krause, who does the work to maintain those. We always know when our 3 year cycle is getting to an end because everybody's nervous and needing the next cycle of readings and things. So if you aren't subscribed, we'll have a link in the show notes to the Google Calendar lectionary, which is really fabulous. You can even share it with your choir directors and worship planners so that they can know what readings and seasons of the year are coming up and make appropriate plans.
Very cool. I like it. Um,
Yes.
you even had a husband who built a little print my cow function that I don't
That
think
was,
works anymore, but was
yeah.
used by many folks. And when that wasn't working, a few tears
It,
were shed as
we
well. So,
heard about that as well. But yeah, being able to print your Google Calendar and have it
yeah.
not truncate every single thing, which is the
Hmm.
way it prints. I can't believe they haven't fixed that yet. So,
Hmm.
anyway.
All right. I like the pick. Thanks, Sally. My pick of the week is maybe one of the cheaper ones that I've ever picked. It is is something that's grown out of necessity. I can't believe I've lived for years without actually having a collection of these. And they're little Velcro, I'll call them Velcro tags. They're basically cable labels in Velcro form, and they just kind of wrap around the cable and they allow you to take a Sharpie and write on them what that cable is for. These are often used in networking rooms where you've got all kinds of cables going to different things, and it's helpful to do that. I use them around the house here for this cable goes to this and this cable goes to that. So whether it's a cable to a laptop or a cable to an external battery or a charger for something. You get so many of these lying around the house and you're never quite sure what goes with what. You kind of have to guess. And it's kind of important sometimes to get the right charger for the right device. So this is, it's probably 14 bucks, was it? I don't even remember what it was, but
No, it was like
$7,
six ninety
$6.
nine.
Yeah. They're just these little items that are just super easy to unvelcro and so depending on how what your setup is, maybe you put one on each side of the device so that you got one on the cord and one on the whatever it's plugging into. And I just keep those right in the desk drawer and they come out whenever I get something that has a plug that I don't want to forget what it goes to. So super cheap, super helpful. Hopefully that's helpful to somebody out there too. And they come in
That's
pretty colors
great.
too.
I
Yes.
was thinking color coding each
Yep.
end.
Exactly
That's
right.
pretty
So,
pretty snazzy.
yep.
Well,
My pick of
kudos
the
to you,
week.
Martin. An
Kept it under
affordable
$7
pick.
for once. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. All
All
right,
right.
Sally, our final community news and feedback.
Well, this is just a funny piece of news that I ran across in some of my AI readings. We didn't even mention the word AI until now on this podcast. Imagine that. But that's
Mm-hmm.
where technology has landed us, is in the world of AI. And this was actually a post from X where someone said, I just generated an image in the style of a Monet painting using AI. Please describe in as much detail as possible what makes this inferior to a real Monet painting. So he put it out there. This is AI. Just wondering what your thoughts are on it. What do you see that makes this bad if AI is
Mm-hmm.
bad? And it got some serious bashing. And you can read through, I think there's an article I can link to as well, where they kind of just laughed at all the people that went nuts over how sloppy this was and how it definitely wasn't, truly in Monet's style and all those kind of things. Turns out the picture was an actual Monet,
Yeah.
and it just really pointed out people's fears and bias against AI as they analyzed and picked
Mm-hmm.
apart this image that was shared, um, and just bashed it up and down. So,
Either that or Monet had access to AI when he painted it too.
oh
Yeah.
no, I don't
So,
think so. So
mm-hmm.
anyway, I think we're just beginning to report
We are.
AI in ministry, and all the things that are ahead are going to be super interesting and transformational, just as well as our past has been. So
Mm-hmm.
stay tuned for more on those fronts. Keep your ears open for sure.
Yeah. All right, Sally. Speaking of AI, I couldn't let this show close without using AI to write a little poem to Sally.
Oh no,
Yeah,
you could.
I could, but I won't.
Okay.
Actually, I put a little elbow grease into this as well, so it's not totally AI, but it helped a lot. So it's called For Sally after 777. I will just do a quick read. It's not that long, but patience is welcome. Back in '08, when the podcast was new, we hit record, not quite knowing the view. A pastor turned techie, a math teacher too, just two willing voices with much work to do. 777 shows in, we've covered it all from the cloud to the bin, the apps and the gadgets, the Chromebooks, the gems, the AI, the websites, the hard won amens. You taught with a patience the rest of us lack. You wrangled the software and answered each back. Back up your files, please. You never once tired of helping the cautious feel slightly less wired. You knew that the tech was a tool, nothing more, that the gospel's the treasure we're really here for. You kept us all grounded. No app could replace the word and the sacrament, mercy and grace. So here's to the pics and the feedback and fun, to episodes finished and segments well done, to laughter recorded and bloopers we'd keep, and the patience you showed me when I'd go off deep. The mics will feel quiet, the studio strange. There's no find and replace for this kind of change. But the work that you did, friend, will ripple and spread through schools, through the synod, through all that's ahead. You've earned every bit of the rest up ahead, and I'll miss our recordings far more than I've said. So thank you, dear Sallie, for all that you do. 700 plus shows, and each better with you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sallie.
That's very kind.
So I don't know what's up next for WELSTech. I'm going to take some time off, or we're going to take some time off and figure it all out. And we'll be quiet for a little bit. And, if you've got ideas about what WELSTech could and should be and, what its future might hold, I'm all ears too. So this is a community-driven show, and we like to hear your thoughts as well. But 777 seems like a nice little place to hit pause and see where we go from here. But I am excited for you, Sallie, to see what's next, and sure you'll be doing some crafting and some burning of things and laser cutting and all those good things.
Yes, lots of fun.
Well, so
for sure.
Sallie, thank you for your ministry. We have a
Thank
little
you.
farewell for Sallie in July yet, so we won't be totally saying goodbye between the two of us, but for our WELSTech audience, yeah, it is. So
End of an
thanks
era.
again, everybody, for listening. For if anybody's listened to 777 shows, that'd be amazing. But for even if listening to one show, we we feel that you are super special, and thanks for joining us. Any final words, Sallie?
Not after that point. I'm sorry. What a blessing it's been. Thanks
Yeah,
for your leadership and vision, Martin.
my
I think it
pleasure.
has been a great platform to support and love our synod and their use
Yeah,
of technology.
100%. Thanks, everybody. We will see you maybe on down the road. Don't know. Bye bye.